First of all, the highlights of 2019, the delivery of 26 Rafale, and then there was the launch of FCIS. You know, there was a major step in Le Bourget. For the Falcon, there was the 40 deliveries and 40 orders. Dassault was recognized as being #1 in terms of customer support everywhere in the world in several categories. I will get back to that in a minute. And the 6X program development is on schedule to be completed in 2022. I won't mention the context. You know that there are geopolitical and economical uncertainties. I did not even mention the latest breaking news, the coronavirus. Geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, trade war between China and the United States, and also between Europe and the United States. So multinational organizations are being questioned. There will be elections in 2020 in the US. Is this going to change the game or not? Will we have a new model for Europe? There will be a new Commission, a new European Parliament, and a new Europe altogether. Because the UK is leaving the European Union, so we'll see how this is going to work out in terms of agreements between the EU and the UK. And, of course, rise of environmental concerns. So that the background changes quite quickly. As we said, delivery of 26 Rafale. There were 96 orders for Rafale export. 49 have been delivered. 47 are still in the backlog. For 2030, I forgot to mention that for 2020, sorry, 13 Rafale will be delivered. This is linked to the contracts because you know the contracts are scheduled to operate like this, but basically it's about two, and it will be ramping up in 2020. For the Future Combat Air System, the first step was completed. There were already joint studies between France and Germany, between Dassault and Airbus in particular. It was called the JCS, Joint Concept Study. And then we launched a few days ago the demonstrator, which should be flying in 2026. So this is really the first step of the demonstrator. The center of the project will be here in Saint-Cloud, and German teams will come to share the project with us here in Saint-Cloud. We will also have Spanish members joining us because Spain signed the agreement as well, and so we're going to take them on board as industry. The next step will take place in 18 months from now, but we are already getting ready to launch the demonstrator in the general sense of the word, and this should take us to 2026, and we are going to cover all the test flights. Now, Rafale France has gone into a white period, if you wish. There will be no deliveries in 2019. The deliveries has gone down lately, so there were only 3 last year. In 2019, there were no deliveries for France, and this is going to continue up until 2021. 2022 is when we're going to start delivering Rafale for France, with 28 aircraft delivered between 2022 and 2024. And we have orders continuing based on the successive standards. So F3R has gone operational. We launched the F4 at the beginning of this year. Waiver was signed, or covenant was signed, adding a certain number of features, and so we are in the middle of this capacity development. The 5th batch of the Rafale will take place later, and the deliveries will start from 2027 onwards. You know that the Armed Forces Minister wanted to reshuffle the way we carry out support, and one of the major applications will be verticalization, meaning that the aircraft manufacturer will have to carry out support throughout the life of the aircraft. It was the case with the Rafael contract signed in 2019. It covers basically all contributors to the Rafael program, except for the engine, which is handled separately. So it's a big contract, about 2 billion euros over a period of 10 years. And this is something that you can see in the order intake numbers. We're going to set up a new way of working with the armed forces in terms of support, in terms of data exchange, based on a platform on which we're working with Dassault system, with a proprietary cloud, and ways of working that will make it possible for us to ensure data protection when data is exchanged between the army and ourselves. The Eurodrone, we've heard a lot about that in the press. Maybe there will be questions about that. We have Leonardo, and we have committed ourselves to make sure that we would have a European drone. We are now in the key phase, which is the final negotiation phase. We've worked on this project for a few years now, and if I believe what I read in the press, I think that we are in the final round of trade negotiations. And you might have questions about that. Neuron also continues. It's a program that started in 2012. We have pilots on the ground, and it's a program dedicated to stealthiness. And we continue flying this drone with reduced teams. It's a combat drone which has demonstrated very interesting and very important features, including for the preparation of future NGF and FCAS projects, because everything that we experiment and develop with Neuron will be applied in the development of the future fighter plane. Space programs, we're mostly interested in Space Rider, which is a program of the European Space Agency. It was confirmed during the European Space Agency ministerial meeting in Spain last year. Dassault contributes its skills with the Italians, and it's mostly Italy. France is really not one of the key players, but we think that making a reusable orbital vehicle is very promising, both for civilian and military applications. Maritime patrol aircraft, ATL-2, has been upgraded. ATL-2 is the maritime patrol aircraft. It hunts submarines, protecting our own submarines. The system was developed and delivered with a PLM system, which we set up with all the stakeholders, together with Dassault System Tools. Dassault Aviation is the system architect. Thales provides the radar and acoustic detection devices, and the naval group is in charge of the core system software. Multi-mission Falcon ramping up. Japan has ordered their 6th aircraft. We have already delivered 4 to Japan. France is going to go into a Falcon 2000 program. So in 2020, we will have more information about the program, and I hope that it will be launched before the end of this year. And also, as you know, the Archange program with 3 8X Falcon, and it should replace the Transal Gabriel. The order was placed of 2 8X Falcon, and there is an option for a 3rd one that might be activated later. The Falcon market is still very competitive. In this adverse environment, we nevertheless managed to take 40 orders. We have delivered 40 planes also. And this means that we have 53 in backlog as of December 31st. So we are really working on preparing the future range, the 6X and the future Falcon that we are going to announce this year, but not today. The plan is to deliver 40 aircraft in 2020, just as we did in 2019. So here is a view of the range. For the 6X, everything is going as planned. Of course, we are very vigilant, given the previous experience. We have people in Canada who are monitoring the upgrading of the existing engine. adaptation to our aircraft. Everything is going on schedule. The first tests were done with a Boeing 747 with a Pratt & Whitney engine. The tests went well. Everything is going on schedule. And we started assembling the first aircraft. You've seen the fuselage, and we are about to assemble the wings. Now, customer service. We have extended our market share with the acquisition of RUAG and TAG and ExecuJet. The integration is in progress. The service centers are now owned by us, and this gives us more efficiency in direct link with support for all our aircraft. And so on top of all the services that we implemented, that all the effort that we put in customer service has led us to be recognized by AIN and ProPilot as number ones in terms of customer service. This is really a ranking that is very dear to our hearts, because we're ranking number one in terms of customer service and also in terms of a lot of other areas. So this is a really acknowledgement of all the work that we did, and it probably makes our customers even more loyal to the Falcon family. We are also ramping up in the digital project. This future aircraft that I don't want to tell you anything about right now will be done entirely with a 3D experience Dassault system platform. It's a very powerful tool, and we will be the first. This will be the first plane to be developed totally on that platform. Also, we have a better management of big data. More and more data is available for the manufacturing, for the engineering, and we are setting up platforms, as you've seen in the military area with a Rafael contract, but also for Falcon. We are setting up an aircraft health book, for example. This is one of the services that we provide that actually comes out of the way we manage big data and the data management platform. So there will still be a lot of work to do in order to keep the data under control and to protect the data, because cybersecurity is key here. So that is going to entail a great change. Industrial and supply chain performance, as you've seen, we are refurbishing a lot of our locations and making them even more specialized, and we want to manage this supply chain even better. Now, in terms of our footprint, you have all the locations here on this graph. I won't go into all the details, but you've seen that in Martignas, the new site has been delivered, for pyrotechnics. It's a tripod-shaped building. In Mérignac, we launched this new building for office work, because there will be the design office and the support that will be dispatched between Saint-Cloud and Mérignac. Saint-Cloud, of course, will remain the heart, if you wish, of engineering and design, and the platform for the future Falcon will be here, but we will also have platforms for development that will be located in Mérignac. When I say development, I mean not just designing the aircraft, but also designing the way it is going to be produced. And Seclin will be delivered later this year, and you have a certain number of other locations, including Saint-Cloud, that will be refurbished, upgraded, because Saint-Cloud is a little bit older on the other side, not the part that you can see from here, and we will be able to work in a smoother way. Then there's Nagpur in India, and of course, all these sites will have to take into account the future Falcon, but this is something I will tell you more about later during the year. Now, in India, it's ramping up. We're a little bit behind schedule, because in India everything is complicated and takes more time, but things are happening. We have already managed to qualify a certain number of parts, like T1, for example. They have been approved as per the regulations. This was a big step for us, and now we are ramping up. And we built this big building, and we are now going to build another one, because we are going to ramp up the manufacturing, especially with the T-12. We are going to have this big hangar to assemble parts in the next years to come. It's not just Nagpur and the manufacturing of Falcon. We also manufacture a few Rafael parts, and it's the whole supply chain. We can actually now have an active supply chain in India. It's not just for Dassault, it's also for subcontractors, and it's also in the area of services, because we opened a center in Pune, near Mumbai, in which we have a team of engineers, Indian engineers, managed by French engineers. We also are involved in training, because Indian people receive a lot of training in the digital area, for example, and in the aeronautics. We help them also grow their skills in this specific area, design and engineering. For CSR, we talk a lot about that. So we do a lot of things in CSR, just like everybody else. I'm going to give you a few examples. Gender equality, well, we hired 1,000 people. That was for the parent company, but actually in total 1,500 people were hired, and 23% of these newly hired were women. And you know that today at Dassault at large we have about 18% women. Quality of life, this is also an evolution that Dassault is moving into, and it's nice for hiring young people working from home, and daycare center for children. And we also have a concierge system in order to help people get a better quality of life. And we also work on our carbon footprint. That's several areas. We work in R&D, in the CORAC initiative. We try to come up with technologies that will enable us to fly greener in the future. We also have this Clean Sky program in Europe. It's a framework development program for the whole of Europe based on the Green Deal announced by the European Commission. So our engineers are looking for solutions. They're still looking. They haven't found a silver bullet that will enable us to be sure to fly totally green in the near future. But we're getting there. You know, as was indicated in the movie, we already use biofuels. It's possible to use biofuels, and then there's the question of how these fuels are distributed. But work is also conducted to work on synthetic fuels, and we are working with the oil companies in that area in order to prepare for the future and to be capable of meeting the demands of some countries, of course, France and Europe. But also what we would like to do is to meet the OACI standards, the ICAO standards, because we think that in terms of the environment, you have to look at the whole world and not only Europe or France. Then there's REACH, which is a European standard. We have to abide by it, of course, and these are major changes. For example, we're going to no longer use chromates in paintings. And this means that we have to find alternative solutions. We have to re-qualify these new materials. And it's a process that takes some time. And I want to remind you that it's something that you have to do if you are operating in Europe. But there is no such measures in the US. They do have some regulations in some states, but it's really got nothing to do with the REACH constraints. If you look at GFAS, it's billions of euros which are spent by companies to comply with the standards. So you see that the environment is really something that you have to work on. You have to set an example, but also you need to understand that the economic environment is highly competitive, and there are other companies that don't have to comply with the same standards. So it's not really a level playing field, even though it should be.
I'll move on to the financial results now per se for 2019. You heard early in the year 40 Falcons ordered and 40 delivered. So book-to-bill for Falcon remaining at 53. In terms of Rafales, 0 Rafale orders, 26 delivered. So the backlog going from 101 to 75, France remaining equal in that figure. In terms of figures in particular, order intake at 5.7 billion compared to 5 billion in 2018. Sales, historical record, as an absolute all-time high for Dassault that you see here on the screen, compared with 5.1 billion that we had in 2018. So backlog 17.8 billion to be compared with 19.4 billion previously in the previous year. In terms of free cash flow, the company has upped its self-funded R&D effort. You see the figure here, 527 million euro worth for 2019. So that's a lot of progress, mainly due to the fact that there are 2 aircraft, Falcon aircraft, that are self-funded and undergoing development. 6X, that has reached a peak in terms of development, and also the future Falcon that we launched but didn't announce yet, that has started using resources in terms of development. And also next year, in 2020, I mean this year, this curve will continue to go up. The next time we'll be announcing our results, it'll be more than 600 million euro worth. You'll see on the screen next year, on the equivalent screen. So you can do your mathematics regarding the operating margin for 2020. Thales contributes to Dassault. As you know, Thales published their results yesterday, reported their results quite in line with their guidance. And we are taking out our stake in Thales here, 7.6% of net income that Thales posted yesterday. And you'll see how much that makes up in terms of absolute value. Thales has totally integrated Gemalto also in 2019. And then cash flow, the cash flow, 5.2 billion to 4.6 billion. That's mainly due to the working capital requirement going up because of the making of the Rafales and the Falcons. Now the income statement, adjusted income statement, 7.341 billion in sales, operating income 765 million euro. That's also an all-time high. Operating margin 10.4%. Now that looks as if it's down compared with the reported figure for 2018, but in the 13.2% you see here for last year, you see the Safran compensation indemnity that was paid last year. That accounts for about 4 percentage points. So you've got to compare 10.4 with 9.2 last year. So an increase in the operating margin. Ceteris paribus, financial income minus 52 million euro reported. Thales and the equity affiliates, you see here 351, tax 250 million. So net income 814 million euro, and the net margin comes out at 11.1%, as you see here. Quite a marked improvement if you bring the 13.4% figure for last year down to take account of the indemnification by Safran. So the earnings per share, 97.9 euro, an increase compared with the previous year, 2018. Dividend, 212 million euro, up compared to the previous year. We've retained the same payout, 26%. Dividend per share, 25.4 euro. Also, I'd like to recall that when it comes to the parent company, we pay out statutory and non-statutory profit sharing to our employees, and it'll be 187 million euro worth for all of that this time round. And in France, we'll be paying 215 million euro worth of taxes, company taxes. 210 million in France, but 215 million in total. Now, the prospects going forward, the strategy for 2020, I'll let you read the slide for yourself. The important thing is the guidance. The delivery of 40 Falcons and 13 Rafales. So the sales figure is bound to go down, an increase in the self-funded efforts, the free cash flow use. And that sums up the main features of our activity. The 2 Falcons, the fact of putting on the rails, the FCAS, and the platform work, and the pursuit of the deliveries for the Rafales and the Falcons. We've got also to find the new export Rafales, so outlets. So we're going to continue prospecting export markets. And that's really what I have to say in broad outline, but I will happily take your questions.